more important than the election campaign. Of all the truly fascinating events that occurred in the last week, the debates, foreign affairs, the looming fiscal cliff. Leave the door open. Leave the door open. It's too hot here. You know, of all these stories that have been covered in the front pages of the newspaper, the most fascinating stories of all were in the sports section. Nothing can compete. There were no more intriguing or compelling stories than Alex Rodriguez and Lance Armstrong. Forget all the other stuff. You can't really learn too much about the real personality of politicians by watching them on the stump or even in debates. They spend most of their energy to hide from us who they really are. They invent public personas and hire specialists to enhance our appreciation of them. But athletes can't hide. They too might hire public relations specialists, but when you step up to the plate to try to hit a Justin Verlander fastball, there's no place to hide. It's just you and the fastball. And if you can pedal up the mountain faster than all the others, you're on top. But if you can't, there's no place to hide. It's just you and the mountain. We've learned much about life from following A-Rod and Armstrong in the sports section, more than we have from a full year of campaigning in these presidential debates. A-Rod and Armstrong have reminded us of the one central teaching of life. Life is like a mountain. Each of us has our own separate mountain to climb. There is a phase of climbing up. There is a phase of reaching the top. And there is a phase of coming down. If we have reached the top in good physical, emotional, and spiritual health, then we may be able to come down gently. If we have gotten to the top by fakery, forgery, or falsity, watch out. We may crash on the way down. Of the two crashes, A-Rod and Armstrong, Lance Armstrong is by far the most disappointing. As beautiful as was the climb, so was the crash devastating. The higher he climbed, the harder he fell. He was such an inspiration. On the precipice of death, he was so ill that he came to the very edge of life and could almost peer over to the other side. And out of sheer will and determination, he came back to us. And not only did he come back, he came back and reached the very pinnacle in a sport of brute strength. The dead man walking became the fiercest physical specimen of all. And not only that, he channeled his athletic success into a $400 million charitable enterprise that had done so much good in the world. But it turns out, with high probability, that the pedestal that we placed him on was built on sand. We wanted to believe him. After his 2005 Tour de France victory, Armstrong addressed his accusers. I'll say to the people who don't believe, the cynics and the skeptics, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry you don't believe in miracles. We so wanted to believe in miracles. How many of us even cared about bicycle racing before Lance Armstrong? Armstrong became the most recognized athlete in the world not because of the popularity of bicycle racing. It was because of the popularity of his story. His story inspired us from the brink of death to the top of the mountain. That story was predicated on natural strength, not synthetically enhanced strength. The glory was that he bested all of the others by being physically and mentally better, not because he cheated better than all the others. The apologetic that everyone did it that no one can become a champion in bicycle racing if they didn't take performance enhancers strikes us as offensive, not because it doesn't ring true. It does. But because it undermines the very foundation of the Armstrong legend. The contradictions are too much to bear. How could the health enthusiast compromise his health and coerce his teammates to do the same? How could the one who advocated the glory of competition cheat on the competition? If he cheated like everyone else, then he's like everyone else, a cheat in the sport of cheaters. And what's so inspiring about that? That he could cheat better than the others? For this, we invested so much of our psychic energy and our time watching the Tour de France? Listen, I know some people are bicycle enthusiasts, but let's be honest. If you take the legend of Lance Armstrong out of Lance Armstrong, then the only thing left for most of us in the Tour de France is the view. Those gorgeous helicopter shots during the Tour de France. In the Torah portion of the week, that tells of Noah's Ark, the sages look carefully at the story of the dove. You remember what happened after the dove returns? What does it have in its beak? What leaf? An olive branch. Actually, it came back twice, but the second time, what's most famous, right? The dove with the olive branch. The Talmud points out that the olive branch is bitter to the taste, and something that doves do not normally eat. But the rabbis emphasize that the dove preferred to eat even food as bitter as the olive leaf rather than take Noah's food for free, even though Noah would give the animals honey to eat. The dove preferred bitter leaves found on its own to the honey that Noah provided for free. It's better to derive our own reward, even if the work is hard and bitter, than to enjoy the honey of success when undeserved. It's a good lesson to remember for students who cheat on exams and for adults who look for every advantage to get ahead in life. And then there is A-Rod. I realize that A-Rod admitted to steroid use earlier in his career, but the story of A-Rod's month is not one of illegitimate performance enhancers. Rather, A-Rod's story is actually poignant. I spent a few moments this week listening to sports talk radio. What an alternative universe that is. Every single caller was mad at A-Rod. They were furious that yet again the $275 million man didn't come through in the clutch, as if it was their money that he was taking, and as if they wouldn't have taken the same deal if they could. A-Rod's story is easy for us to identify with, and in many ways is actually endearing. It highlights human vulnerability. This guy, with rare exceptions, almost never comes through in the clutch. This supreme athlete, who could hit a baseball harder and farther than practically any person who ever lived, just couldn't do it when it really mattered. It wasn't for lack of trying. We can see even through the television screen how much he cares and how much he tries. He just can't do it in the big moments. These moments when the legend of athletes is forged and their true worth is assessed. And by now, it's not likely that he will ever do it. Because now, the question is not only a mental one, it is also physical. A-Rod is 37 years old, an elderly man in baseball terms. And he's getting old in full public view. Most of us can hide our decline from others, at least for a while. But for A-Rod, whereas before he couldn't hit the fastball in the clutch, now he can't hit the fastball at all. Athletes are often the last to notice or to admit to themselves their declining skills. A-Rod's struggle really does teach us something about ourselves. First, it's a rare human being who can perform in the clutch when it really matters. This is what makes a person exceptional. Not that he can do it when no one is watching or when the stakes don't really matter, but that he can do it when it counts. And second, there will come a day when we too will no longer be able to hit the fastball of life, when we are unable to do what we used to do better than our competitors. I think about that more than from time to time. One day, I will be unable to deliver what I am delivering now, and in all likelihood, you will notice it before me. You will tell me. I know it, because you're telling me already now. It's just that for us rabbis, and for many of you in your vocations, our three phases of mountain climbing, going up, reaching the top, and coming down, are at different times of our lives than athletes, and the inclines are not as steep, but we are not exempt. Happens to all of us. We fight for every moment of relevance and excellence. We don't give up an inch. We do not give up easily, but we cannot stay on top forever. And once we lose that hold, like the Yankees fans, those who expect us to perform and pay us will lose patience with us. They might come back to us years later in fond nostalgia, reminding us of the days when we were kings. But when our race is run and we can no longer hit the younger generation's fastball, it's time to turn the game over to them. I like to joke with my wife that since we have both reached what is commonly accepted as middle age, I'm going to get in trouble with it, which is not really true when they say about people like me that we've reached middle age, because if you go by actuarial charts, the middle of our lives has passed long ago. But I like to say to Allison that on the ski slope of life, we are no longer in the ski lift, and we are no longer at the top. We are skiing downhill, and we are picking up increasing speed as we go. Not that I ski, because it's dangerous. I don't do that. Doesn't mean that we have reached the end. People tell me that skiing downhill is fun and has many advantages over struggling up the hill. And the downhill course is the longest of ski runs. And even our diminishing skills are often good enough to navigate the course, and often better than many of those young Turks who so earnestly are climbing up the hill. I'm simply saying this. Go up as honestly as you can, with as much integrity as you can. And when you get to the top, stop, take it all in, and enjoy the view, because there will come a day when you will have to come down. And when you come down, do it as gracefully and with as much enjoyment as you can.